title it said Mastermind, so I see that everyone is muted. Joanne, just to put some perspective here, do we unmute and give people an opportunity to bring up any questions or challenges they're having at a certain point?
Yes, sure. You'll probably speak for 15, 20 minutes, and then we can open it up for discussion.
All right, awesome. So we are on Tactic 9, creating urgency, overcoming buyer reluctance. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces, I'm seeing many unfamiliar. I am Amina Foreman. I'm the team leader for Keller Williams Greater Hartford. My story and claim to fame is that I was ranked the #1 individual team in all of New England region in 2017. And then Kyle Sibba showed up on the scene. I thought he was a typo. I called him. I said, "Are you a real person or are you a typo?" He said, "I'm a real person." So I decided I was just going to go have a baby because it was just no catching up with him. Had a baby. That baby sucked all of my brain cells. And then Matt Erdman finally convinced me to become the team leader. So that is my story. And that's what I'm sticking to at the moment. So with that being said, I do have my shift book right in front of me. And I've highlighted a few things. I basically want to share 10 steps for us to really hone in on Tactic 9 and help create urgencies with buyer and overcoming their reluctance. If I'm looking down a little bit, I'm just checking in with my notes, making sure I'm staying on par with everything. So number 1 step I would say is go back to Tactic 1, which is mindset, okay? When you find your buyers being reluctant, I need you to snap your bold bracelet if you have one and figure out, where am I at in this situation? Am I the one creating the reluctance that is now being projected onto my buyers? So always check your mindset and how you're approaching the conversations with your buyers. Number 2, go back to motivation. When all else fails, we've got to go back to motivation and have that conversation with them. Why are they looking to move? Why is that important to them? They aren't able to make that move. What would that do for you? What would that do for your business? And ultimately, what will that do for your family? And ultimately, what would that mean? So going back to motivation. So I would encourage every one of you at this moment, if you don't have a little tab on your buyer file or somewhere where you write down their motivation, create that spot. So you're always making sure you know their motivation. It's not that they're a pre-approved buyer that has been referred to you. You know their motivation and you're super clear about it and you've gone 3 levels deep. Oh, our house is too small. Okay, so getting into a bigger home, is that important to you? Awesome. And ultimately, when you are able to have your kids have their own separate rooms and create that freedom and have that garden and whatever they choose to say there, what would that do for you? Well, that's amazing. So having those 3 layers and making sure that you are crystal clear on their motivation. Number 3, lay out the plan. I wasn't sure if I was able to share my screen, so if anyone have not seen it yet, we rebranded it for our agents here, and I'm happy to share it with Joanne, and she can send it out to you guys. Have that digital buyer sheet and let them know, put their mind at ease as to what the digital buyer experience is going to look like for them. Because this is a time of uncertainty, and they're not sure how you're going to navigate this process. But if you lay it out in a nice marketing sheet and you go over it with them and let them know how you can take them from signing a buyer broker to collecting their keys digitally, then that will put their mind at ease, okay? Number 4, go back to motivation, all right? You'll start seeing the pattern pretty soon. Number 5, be the economist of choice. Are you looking at your local stats and seeing what's happening in your marketplace? Are you drawing that graph over on page 170 in the shift book? Gary drew that graph showing, tell me when you believe the market is really going to bottom out. Oh, I'm waiting for it to bottom out. Okay, well, you tell me when it's going to bottom out, and you can do that via Zoom and an illustration. And they only know that it's bottom out after we've made the turn. So educating your buyers and doing those experiences with them. Where am I? What number am I? Somebody unmute yourself. I don't know what number I'm at. Okay. The economist of choice was number
6, go to 6 now.
All right, number 6, go back to motivation. Number 7, educate. Your lender is your best friend at this moment. And for those of you who have not already heard it, there is no more prevailing rates being written into contracts. That will put your buyer at risk, okay? Because when the market swings and the interest rate up, and if they're not locked in, all of a sudden a $300,000 buyer can only go $250,000. Okay, so I want to make sure that you are in conversation with your lender at all times, figuring out what's going on in the market, how are the rates affecting them, how is it affecting their purchasing power, and then going back to them and sharing that. And that helps to create urgency because they understand that if they're locked in now and they can lock in at 3.5 or whatever it is, if it swings to 4.2, what does that mean? You can no longer buy that $300,000 home. So staying in touch with your local lender constantly. You should be checking in with your lender daily at this point. Number 8, is that where I'm at? Go back to motivation. Number 9, follow the process. The process still works. So if you actually look at the sequence that we should be doing, which is doing a buyer consult. Yesterday, I was able to show our market center how you can do the entire buyer consultation virtually or digitally, right? You can still set up the MLS search with them. You can still educate them and use that buyer presentation that we all learned in Bold and walk through the process. This is not your time to just skip through and be willy-nilly about your process. Still follow your process with them. Bring them in, understand their goals, help them understand the home buying process, have them understand how for sale by owners work and that they call you first, still get them locked into a buyer broker agreement. Going through the process, following the process still works and it helps you in creating that urgency. Number 10. Who wants to guess what number 10 is?
Go back to motivation.
Go back to motivation. So when you look at, I'm going to pull it, page 168 in the shift book. In a shift market, buyers can easily lose sight of the primary reason driving their home purchase: a different neighborhood, a better school district, proximity to work or recreation, a different floor plan, more space. It's really, really important. Buyers can't wait for headlines to say buy now. Headlines will only let you know when the best time to buy has passed. So you can't let them wait on the headlines. You can't let them rely on the media and what the media is saying. You have to remind them of their motivation. It's important for them. And number 11, oh, I did say 10 steps, right? I stole this one from Bold. When all else fail, lead generate and go the extra mile. Because when you lead generate, and that's a few tactics back, it allows you the opportunity to find the motivated buyers. I just can't say, oh, I have 10 buyers that I'm working with right now. In the reality, when the market is shifting, you probably only have 2. Because the rest of them are not as motivated, okay? They will make the move if the market is right. So if you lead generate, it allows you to be working with 10 motivated buyers and focus on your A buyers, and the B's and C's, they'll wait, and that's fine. Eventually they'll move up. But if we lead generate, it gives us the opportunity to find the motivated ones and really focus on working with the motivated. Hey, Tara, I see you have a good screen bomber there. All right, so I don't know how am I doing for time? That's only 10 minutes so far. A couple things else I want to pull out of the book for you. When I mentioned stay close to your lender on page 173, it said, as a result, when you first meet a potential buyer, the 3 fundamental things you want to understand is their ability, their readiness, and their willingness, okay? The ability is where the lender comes in because their ability to buy can change from day to day, and you need to stay in touch with your lender. Let's see, what else I wanted to pull through here. Oh, this one was my favorite on page 176 towards the top of the page. It said, personal reasons tend to be the most shift proof. Right? What does that go back to? Motivation. If you know their personal reasons and the why they're doing this and the why they're deciding to make this move, you have now made your buyer shift proof. Okay? So I want to hear, what are you guys hearing so far? So somebody unmute yourself and tell me, what are you hearing so far?
Get to the motivation.
Get to the motivation. Love it. What else?
Be the economist of
You're talking,
choice.
your lips are moving, but you're still muted.
The lender. Lender's my best buddy.
Your lender is your best buddy.
Let them do the heavy lifting and the nuts and bolts, and then I'll be the good guy.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Encouragement. Encouragement.
I can hear someone, but I didn't hear the what?
Encouragement.
Encouragement.
Encouragement. I love it.
And to lead
Don't put
generate.
prevailing rate.
Say that one again.
Don't put prevailing rate.
Don't put prevailing rates. That is a big one. I have been personally impacted by this with a buyer just before things started getting wonky. And now, fortunately, they were pre-approved without having to sell their home. And now we have to make a contingency of them selling their home or else they're not able to buy. So do not put prevailing rate on your buyer. Go back to your best friend, which is the lender, and once you're writing that contract, base purchase price of $300,000, what is the maximum rate that keeps them qualified? And they might say, well, the maximum rate is going to be 4.2. Anything above that, they're no longer qualified. Their debt to income ratio would be off, and you put that rate in there, not prevailing, because you can put your buyer's deposit at risk. All right, what else are you hearing?
Not since the last shift has there ever been a time where it's more important for us to be on the top of our game, to be really well informed. And, you know, I use this analogy a lot in talking with agents, right? Where I say, our job is that we need to be driving the bus, not be a passenger on the bus. And if the client, if we can guide them in this process and they feel that we've got this, we have the roadmap, we're going to provide them with good navigation throughout the process, it's going to help them feel more confident.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. That is, I heard someone made the analogy of us being the air traffic controller in this situation. You know, it's our job to land that plane safely.
Right.
And you have to know the ins and outs. You have to become that economist of choice. You have to educate yourself throughout the process and keep giving them good information so they don't rely. Does all your buyers have like a friend or a parent or somebody that is so knowledgeable about the real estate market? Those drive me nuts. But guess what? If we're not doing our job and we're not educating them, they're going to look for education elsewhere. Right? What else are you hearing?
Found that you just have to be far more of a therapist than you ever had to before. No, seriously, because I have deals going on and they teeter because these people are terrified of losing their jobs, or they're more concerned about their money now because the stock market has tanked and they've lost some of it. So I'll literally be like, I can go and do this for you, and you take a breath and I will move this stuff out, or I'll move this. So literally I've started doing way more than I ever have done before, but I think they also have to know we're not in it for the money.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't just keep pushing, oh, we could do this, we could do this. You actually have to listen to what they're telling you once in a while. And if they're too petrified or they've lost their shirts, we have to respect that too.
Yeah, yeah. Kate, I really love that you shared that. And I'll tell you why. One of these points was mindset. Number one was mindset, right? Because you can't give what you don't have. And that's why we have to pour into ourselves daily and make sure that we're filling our own buckets. And that's why we have these things to help fill your bucket and keep your mind right. And thank you so much, Joanne, and the rest of the region for putting these things together. Because if you're not constantly pouring into yourself, you're not going to have enough to give to your clients. So mindset is critical. What are you reading right now? What's your affirmation right now? What are you journaling? Like, this is a time your mind have to be right. Your mind have to be right, because you're giving way more sometimes than what you're getting. So you have to keep filling your tank. Love that, Kate, that you, because we're more than a real estate agent right now. We're a friend, we're a therapist, we're a house cleaner when we need it, we're everything for clients. So what are you being to yourself? Okay, who else want to share sharing so far? Marie, you just unmuted yourself, I think. Nope. Okay, so page 178, I'll share a little bit more. Ways to energize buyer urgency, become that local economist of choice is where I pull that out from. Help them tap into their why and address the buyer reluctance. So that's on page 178. If you want to highlight it, that's where we were able to pull some of those points out. I want to, on bottom of page 181, in the really fine print, it says, if you're unsure how this conversation goes, that conversation about what goes up must come down, and more importantly, what goes down always go back up, then let the Millionaire Real Estate Investor be your guide. Unlike many other books on investing in real estate, it stresses the stable, realistic, and proven path to wealth. So if you educate yourself and go back to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and educate yourself about that process, so you can have intelligent conversations when people are saying, I'm going to time the market. You're right. So, okay, I thought someone unmuted it. It's like
I am muted.
Oh, okay. Michaela, is that?
Not there. My photo's not there. This is Tracy Bailey, and I'm sharing with Michaela right now. I don't know if you can hear me okay. Amina, you're doing a great job. Thank you for being out there today.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you for filling my cup there. Appreciate that.
Sure.
What'd she say?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chris. Was it you?
What? I couldn't understand what she said.
Can you hear me better now?
Not really.
No,
A
not
little bit
really.
better. Speak up or get closer to your mic, Michaela.
Yes, I think I'm about as close to the mic as I can get. Is it any better now?
Yeah, as long as there's no noise made in the background of my house.
Sorry. Well, first I wanted to thank Amina for being there. She's doing a great job. And the other thing I was saying was I literally hung up the phone with a buyer just before we got onto this call, and you were asking for what we're hearing out there, so I thought I would share a bit. This is a client for whom I'm supposed to be selling their property for around $1 million, and they want to buy something that's a very vertical antique property, steep stairs. And they're getting older and having a harder time with the stairs, which is why they approached me last year about selling. And we started figuring out where they would move to. And we've had our eye on some new construction, which is 6 units. And the developer had already put 3 units under agreement when we found it. And he said he wouldn't last year put a 4th or any more units under agreement because he didn't want to be involved in change orders and trying to keep track of what multiple buyers would want, that the last 3 units would not be available until he had completed the project. So I had given this couple a punch list of work to do on their house so we could have it ready to put on the market this spring, and then we would try to make an offer on one of these new construction units as soon as they were available. So I just called them to check in and see how they're doing with their punch list, and they're doing their punch list, but now they're reconsidering whether they want to sell at all because the place that they're going to buy is $700,000 more than what they're selling, and the additional money is in the stock market. So they've started to have some objections, forming over the past couple of weeks. So I just wanted to bring this up to say I did exactly what you suggested, Amina, and went back to motivation and started talking about the stairs and the reason that they wanted to move, because they haven't gotten any younger and won't. And one of them was even saying to me that food has become a source of entertainment, and that she's likely to weigh 900 pounds when this thing is over if she doesn't get out and start getting exercise. So I think in her own mind, she realizes that the stairs are going to be a limitation. And so I'm not even sure that what I heard today were sincere objections, but rather requests for reassurance that everything is going to be fine and that they have a tour guide basically who's going to lead them through this process, even if it's a more scenic route than they were expecting to go on when we started on this journey together.
Yeah. Great. That was a really, really great ad, Michaela. And, you know, remember that an objection is only an unanswered question in the mind of the customer. So when they're putting it up, it's just because they're not sure. They're not sure. And it's our job to answer that question. And harping on that, going back to motivation at the top of page 184, I want everyone to highlight that. You know, it says at the end of the day, nothing trumps a buyer's personal motivation and reasons for moving. Okay, that nothing trumps that. If you speak nothing else but just get clarity on their motivation, keep digging deeper and deeper on that, that is enough to move your buyers forward. The interest rate conversation is just icing on the cake, but the real core is going to be their motivation at any given time. So moving on a little bit to page 184, and then we'll open it up for any other challenges people are facing so that we can mastermind around it. On page 187, I'm sorry, it says, the very moment seller no longer have to make concessions, they won't. That's another important message to get out to your clients so that they can make this decision now. When sellers, and I know that we're kind of across the board here in New England, but what we're seeing mainly here in Connecticut is that it's a seller's market. It's multiple offers on a lot of properties. So now, once the sellers are completely aware that they are in control and they realize they no longer have to make concessions, they won't. That's another conversation you can have with your buyers to keep them motivated. And then last but not least, to wrap it up, it says, at the end of the day, building buyer urgency is about expert knowledge of the market, careful consultation on their personal wants and needs, skill at communicating the opportunities of the market, and assertiveness in challenging their thinking. That is on page 195, just almost that last paragraph of the chapter. I'll read that again because that's really, really important. At the end of the day, building buyer urgency is about expert knowledge of the market, careful consultation on their personal wants and needs, skill in communicating the opportunity of the market, and assertiveness in challenging their thinking. So that pretty much sums it up for the content I wanted to highlight. So I just want to hear, let me get 2 ahas, and then we'll move into challenges people are facing and how we can mastermind around it together to keep you moving forward in your businesses and serving your customers. So what are your ahas?
I love that last paragraph. Can you tell me where that was, please?
That is on, I just closed my book. Good job.
You said page 195.
Sorry.
Page 195.
195.
Thank you.
All right. What?
Guess what this guy just got? 100, obviously.
That's minus. This is what you got.
100, baby.
Okay, we got nothing out of this. Woohoo! Great.
No, I thought someone else was talking. This is Chris Sheps. My big why was, you hit the nail on the head. Lender is my best friend at this moment, and don't write prevailing rate. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sarah's husband's waiting.
Amina?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Go for it. Yes.
I really, just to back up a little bit, I really liked when you were talking about how, like, I'm going to use my own analogy, but basically I got to fill up my own source, you know, before I can give to others. And then especially right now, that's so important. Like, I feel like with my clients, I'm the cheerleader right now. Like, come on, guys, hang tough with me. You know, that's kind of what I'm giving out to people. And if I'm not taking care of myself, you know, spiritually, business-wise, if I'm not doing these classes, which I love, I'm doing them every day right now, that's giving me, you know, that the why,
Yeah.
and what I'm doing, and helping people hold on through this.
I love it. It is the biggest thing because 90% of success is mindset. And the way I had said it is that you can't give what you don't have. And you want to give those people, you want to help influence and challenge their thinking. And if you have some stinking in your thinking, it's not going to go very far. All right?
Exactly.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that up again, Lisa. Someone in the chat box, I don't know if it got responded to, said, wait, what? Don't put prevailing rates where? No prevailing rates in your contract. In your buyer purchase sales contract, when you're presenting offers, do not put prevailing rates because prevailing rates can put them out of their qualification and put their deposit in jeopardy. Talk to your lender, they're your best friend, and put a cap rate that keeps them qualified at that purchase price you're presenting. So if in the event the rates go above that, you have an out and the buyers could get their deposit back. All right, so what challenges are we facing? So anyone have any specific challenges they're facing?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, Chris Steps again. I would love to have any guidance of the best practices to set up showings and then to go see the homes. I have a couple buyers, very motivated. They have little ones and they're afraid. Obviously, don't bring them, but I'd love to just hear other people's thoughts. Thank you.
Awesome. Who feels like they're nailing it in this department and wants to share some ideas with Christine?
I can share what we do.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
I had a showing yesterday. I recommended that the seller turn on all the lights themselves and spray the door handles with Lysol. We enter with gloves on, so the buyers wear gloves, you wear gloves, and you mask up. You can use a handkerchief. So, and then follow your 6-foot rule. It's a no-touch showing. We've also used the Matterport tour, and I had riders made from Lowen that say this house has a 3D tour online. So my properties are getting seen. You'll be able to see how many hits the listings are getting. And that's basically it. You can go in one at a time. You can follow, trail behind them 6 feet. So it's really not that different than when you would normally show. Sometimes, I don't like to do a lot of talking while people are walking through. I ask them, would you prefer for me to take you on the tour, or do you want me to walk behind you or trail behind, and then I'll answer your questions? So it's not really that different. You have to just be careful about what you touch, not bringing paper if you're contaminated, and then it gives you a reason to send it online. So that's what my team's doing.
Awesome. Just to add to that, if they have kids are not on showings, please no. Keep them in the car. The husband and wife have to switch off, and the showing is a little bit longer because you just have the wife go in first, and then she comes out, and then the husband goes in. And really, not just wiping down the handles, but making sure the sellers are leaving the lights on and all doors open so that you guys don't have to touch anything. I saw someone else came on to share what other input you have in helping your buyers navigate through with showings during this time.
Just a quick note on having only one person at a time. It can be in your showing instructions because you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and not saying we don't want any children to come and see this property. So in your showing instructions, you can say that it can be viewed one person at a time, and that encourages the next step would be one parent goes in and then the other.
Awesome. Love it. And I know someone is still harping on the prevailing rate part, asking if they're not protected by their mortgage contingency with that prevailing rate. It's a fine line, and I'll tell you why. If they get a denial from the mortgage and it's because of rates, when you put prevailing rate, that automatically puts them in default of the contract because you put prevailing in there. Because remember, denial comes with a reason.
I just want to let you know it's noon time.
All right.
You might want to wrap up a little now, I guess.
All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Amina, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all for being on it. It is noon time, and when all else fails, we go back to motivation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you, Amina. Thank you, everyone.